Some things are within our control, while others are not. Our opinions, preferences, desires, and aversions, that is, everything that is intrinsically linked to our actions, is under our control. On the other hand, elements such as body, wealth, reputation, and authority, that is, everything that is not intrinsic to our actions, is beyond our control. Thus begins the manual or life guide of the renowned Greek philosopher. If you want to live a full life with fewer afflictions in the soul, you must understand what is under your control and what is not. Our duty is to direct our energy to what we can control and ignore that which is not under our domain. One of the biggest challenges a human being can face is the opinion and judgments of other people. It is practically inevitable to be affected, either positively or negatively, by them. To avoid being affected, it is essential to understand that the opinions of others, insults, or personal attacks are not under your control. In the life manual, we learn to deal with offenses. Therefore, the goal of this video is to extract the teachings of the famous manual of life to achieve a state of mind that allows us to reduce or eliminate the suffering caused by the judgments of others. Through 7 principles extracted from the manual of Epictetus, you will learn why you should not worry about external feelings and how to achieve a state where opinions cannot harm you. If you're new here, consider signing up so you don't miss out on the valuable content we're preparing for you. Principles, or offenses, are offensive, so if someone provokes you, remember that it is your own opinion that is initially disturbed. Try not to get carried away by appearances, because with time and calm, it will be easier to keep track of yourself. One of the keys to not caring about the opinions of others is to understand that insult or offense are not intrinsically harmful. The emotional discomfort accompanying the insult really depends on how we process this insult. When someone diminishes you or lacks respect, think that this insult will only harm if you allow it. If you react negatively, the true value of a person should be measured by how much he can tolerate negativity. Unfortunately, that's life. If you feel insulted or offended, ask yourself, do I want to win or lose? I want to give in to what I can't control? Let us draw a parallel with stoicism and pleasures. If we want to stop being influenced by them, we must not fight them, for they will never disappear. The difference is how we process this desire, whether we surrender completely to it or ignore it. In this way, if you manage not to be disturbed by the insult, the satisfaction you will feel afterwards will make you someone superior and able to move forward firmly in the face of adversity. Surely, you're thinking of that time when a negative comment ruined your day or week, despite your efforts. Let me say I understand how you feel, because we've all been in this situation at some point. If this is your case, I recommend you keep watching, because in the next principles, we will address self-control. Principle 2. Hold firm purposes. In this principle, we must understand that if we want to avoid being affected by the opinions of others, we must prepare from the beginning to be ridiculed and to suffer derision from the crowd. If we are to understand philosophy, prepare to hear people say, "Has he suddenly become a philosopher?" Or, "Where does that arrogant attitude come from?" Make sure you do not adopt this arrogant attitude and stand firm in the things that contribute to your well-being. Remember, if you stand your ground, the same people who used to ridicule you will eventually admire you. But if you let yourself be convinced by others, you will be ridiculed twice. Those who wished to become philosophers. But even if you don't want to become a philosopher, this principle proposed by the Greek can be applied to any other aspect of our lives. This principle is essential as many people neglect their true talents only to please dissenting voices. What Epictetus tells us is that if we allow our purpose to be influenced by fear of the opinions of others, we will not fail because we try and fail, but because we yield. Opinions of others, we should not interpret this as a failure, but as a real problem. When a person gives up only to avoid social conflicts or to prevent others from opining on him, it is worth persevering, even if there is mockery or questioning for a while. After all, as you advance, you are living according to your own nature. I recommend that you think about it whenever you need to make a decision in your life. Consider your priorities and understand the real reason behind your choices. Principle 3. Don't worry if someone speaks ill of you. Don't let the idea of living in dishonor and being nowhere worry you. For if not receiving honors were a bad thing, then others would have the power to make us unhappy, and that is not how things work. The truth is that you are someone only in the things that are under your control and that depend on your decisions. This principle is very relevant today. How many times have you done something you really didn't want just to get someone's approval, especially on social media? Social validation on these platforms can be like poison for a person. We must ask ourselves, is it worth changing who we really are just to get a little satisfaction? Is it worth putting our emotional well-being in the hands of others? My answer is clear. No. I recommend that you think about it because we've all been through situations where we did something that embarrassed us but wasn't malicious. At some point, why bother if they laugh at you or marginalize you? In terms of popularity, do you really believe that your happiness depends on how popular you are? If you live like this, you will be in constant conflict because your happiness is not in your hands. Therefore, you will live in a constant state of tension, change its essence so as not to lose status. One of the main points of Stoicism is to care only about what is under its control and become indifferent to what is not. As for insults, remember that no one can harm you unless you allow it. If someone harms you or speaks ill of you, remember that they act believing they are right to do so. It is not possible for everyone to act according to what you consider right, but not for them. Therefore, if someone judges him based on a false appearance, it is he who is harmed by his mistake. Therefore, tolerate the person who insults you patiently and repeat to yourself that this is just what they think. Principle 4. Exercise high control for an insult to turn into an offense. As Epictetus said, we must have the same respect for our mind that we have for our body. I am sure you would not allow a stranger to enter your home every day, knowing the threat this would pose. However, when we receive an insult and process it as an offense, we allow that person to enter our mind and stay there for a few days. Why do we allow strangers into our minds when we would never let them into our homes? To achieve a state in which we ignore the negative feelings arising from an offense, discipline and self-control must be accumulated. Apply this to every situation in life, including the family. When you are angry, control that emotion, as it will avoid much unnecessary suffering and make you feel more at ease with yourself. Believe me, this will make significant change in your life. Principle 5. Act according to your best judgment. We should not feel ashamed to be seen acting according to our principles, even though others may form a wrong idea of what we are doing. If we are acting correctly, why fear the wrong judgment of others? This also applies to the use of social networks, where we often allow our happiness to depend on the popularity or validation of others. This leads us to act to please them instead of going our own way. Principle 6. Don't worry if someone speaks ill of you. If someone harms you or speaks ill of you, remember that they act on the assumption that they have reason to do so. But it is not possible to think that everyone would act according to what seems right to you, but not to them. Therefore, if they are judging based on a false appearance, it is they who are harmed by their mistake. Based on these principles, tolerate the person who judges you patiently. On each of these occasions, repeat to yourself, Principle 7. No one can harm you. Through this seventh principle, we analyze the motivation of the sender of the insult. What he tells us is that we cannot expect everyone to act according to what we consider right or according to our worldview. This way of thinking can be very harmful. We must consider the following reflection. Is it really feasible to believe that everyone has the same point of view as you? Thinking like that is pretty naive. So, in case someone insults you, believing that they know the truth about you, consider this. You know who you are. You know who you are, you know what you think, you know why you act and why you do what you do. The only one who knows the truth about you is yourself. Therefore, in the event that a stranger insults you in some way, you should ask yourself, did I act wrongly? If the answer is no, ask yourself, can I get into their minds and understand the reason for the insult? Clearly you can't. Therefore, in case you have acted correctly and face ignorance regarding the motivation of the insult, you should feel content. For it is the person in the world who knows him best. If he has acted correctly, he should not bear the burden of repentance. As Epictetus said about the person who insults him, that's what it looked like to them. To conclude, I would like to end with the following lesson from Epictetus. How long do you think you will postpone becoming worthy of the greatest progress and following the teachings of reason that you have already received? You have already received the philosophical principles with which you must be familiar. What other master are you waiting for to start improving? You are no longer a teenager, but an adult. Therefore, if you continue to be negligent, lazy, and constantly putting things off, adding excuses after excuses and postponing the day you will dedicate yourself, life will pass while you remain ignorant until the day of your death. What did you think of the video? Let me know your opinion in the comments. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe so as not to miss the valuable content we are preparing for you.